Okay, this will be an interesting one. We've seen this in heaps of advertising spaces and magazines and shit like that. I don't know how I'm going to make this presentable. It's going to be a challenging one position-wise and size-wise, but I want to make it look interesting. It's a piece of shit as far... Oh yeah, it's good for wiping shit from your ass. Fuck. Yeah, we all know it's toilet paper. It's a toilet paper ad. Thought I'd let you know ahead of time. We're just going to leave the contrast as is, and we're going to leave that in the middle. This will be a funny one if we can make it look good. If we can take the piss out of it. Well, take the shit out of it. Well, it's normally take the piss, but anyway, it's right. Oh yeah, of course, you've got to wipe piss off your undercarriage too, because hey, you don't want to get wet knickers. So let's see what this product is, or this ad. It is, who knows about this? Everyone nearly. Quilton. Love the never-ending softness. What a load of shit. I'd much prefer to buy Delsey toilet paper, or maybe not only Delsey but Woolworths paper. I find the Delsey's nicer than the Woolworths, but if I'm in Woolworths, we don't have Delsey as a selection, so we have to take what we get. So I'm trying to line this up in an artistic manner, so it's going to be a little bit challenging here, trying to get this to look good. So I don't know how big we're going to make it. We're going to guesstimate it. Hopefully I showed enough of how I was doing it. So we're just going to go here, and the length is going to be 100 and something, 100 and going 140 for the length. For the vertical, we're going 190. I don't think so. 160. I don't know how this is going to look, but it's going to be a mirror image. So if it looks off center, it doesn't matter. It'll make a good mirror image. And it's going to be distorted in length or width. So let's see how this. We've got to make this into something different. We don't want it looking just like the original commercial. We've got to make it more aesthetically pleasing than that. So we got that. Looks quite nicely scented, but we do we get rid of the toilet paper in the ad? We just maybe enlarge a bit this way and enlarge it a bit that way. It looks like an interesting design. Now let's see what else we are going to do. So we don't want to push it down too far, because we don't want the writing up the top on there. So we're going to have to stretch this further. It's going to be going further. So manual, we're going to go 190 that way, and this way we're going to stay with 160 for some reason. Now let's see how this piece of capitalist, this masterpiece of capitalism, you could call it. Well, we don't actually consider it a masterpiece. Capitalism is downright evil. But if we could think of it as that, just for a moment, you could say that as far as capitalist advertising campaigns go, it's quite clever. After all, it wouldn't be so fucking popular. And it obviously sells a lot of product, even though it's a fucking shit. Yeah, not just shit that comes off your bum, but shit in that it's an evil... I mean... And it's wrapped in plastic for one, and I don't like it the way it's wrapped in plastic. I'd rather get it with a paper wrap, and that's what Delsey and the Woolworths version has, is the paper wrapping rather than plastic. So I do like, even though Woolworths is still a big organisation that sells too much shit, you could say it's too big, but I'm sort of railroaded into it because I can't afford to go to small businesses, because they cost more for me to spend on, and I'm on a limited budget, so I can't afford to go to a small corner store. It would be nice if corner stores could challenge companies like Woolworths, but I think it's because Woolworths buy in bulk, And that's how they sell so much stuff, and they buy it in bulk. So it's cheaper for them to buy it in bulk, and then they can sell it cheaper. They can pass it on to the consumer, whereas a small corner store can't have that much bulk. It's too much. It won't fit in the store, and you know, the store's just physically too small anyway. So that's really sad that we can't bypass the wheels of capitalism totally. We have to still, unfortunately, now that looks too wishy-washy. We're trying to get rid of the shadows on the back there. You can just make out here the bits of black writing. But basically, it's sad that we can't avoid dealing with companies like Woolworths. You know, that we can't just support the little doers, because you know the little doers can go out of business any moment, and it's just not right. But how do we support ourselves? And that's the problem there. That's the conundrum capitalism has given us. So much difficulties, so many bloody difficulties that, you know, you just can't solve this damn problem. You have to be a part of the fucking problem until such time as something happens, something changes, that there's a revolution of some descript. We're going to keep that on standard. We're going to make it just one notch lighter. But basically, we just can't seem to prevent this from happening. You know, how do we have a fair and equitable supermarket system? How can we make the small doers stay in business? Because we need small business. You know, we don't want a world ruled by fucking capitalists and their fucking companies, their huge companies. We've got to have a balance. We've got to have people who are little doers, not just the big doers. And it's so hard to make that happen. Well, that looks a bit better. It still looks a bit wishy-washy, but it looks less so. We're going to make it a bit smaller on the horizontal. But basically, we just can't seem to solve the problem of how to shop in small supermarket shops, or convenience stores they're normally referred to as. They're normally referred to as convenience stores, but they do have a place. Occasionally I do use a convenience store or a little doer, but that's when I can't get to a supermarket and it's urgent. And I did have to buy toilet paper one night because I couldn't get to a supermarket, so I went to my local service station and bought it from there, and I fucked it up. Somehow this is... Oh, I know what I've done wrong. I've made it smaller rather than larger. Looks a bit compressed anyway. I'm wondering if we're going to keep it like that, or... That's interesting. We seem to have gone back to the... Oh, shit. I'm fucking it up, folks. Sorry. We went... Why did it go back to that? The X... I thought we were on 150. This is really odd what's happened here. I must have done something terribly wrong here. 100, maybe I should have made it 200 and something. Maybe it should have been 242. We'll soon find out, because that's too small. It's not what we wanted. This is not an easy one here, folks. But I just would love it if I had the money. It would be good. But then, yeah. But then, do we really want to save every bit of money that we have? Because that's what greed is founded on. Penny pinching. A lot of it's penny pinching, and it'd be good if we didn't have the desire to penny pinch. If we didn't penny pinch, we could probably support these little doers a lot better than what we do. And I think we got it just right, because we don't want the hand to show, because the hand shows the product. The hand is on the product, so we're just cutting out the product and making it into something more aesthetically pleasing. But basically, it would be nice to have more money and support the little doers, and that's what I have to do, is one day, maybe, I don't know, for some reason I keep thinking, oh, I've got to go back to Coles, I've got to go back to Woolworths or Aldi. Even though I'm against capitalism, it just seems to be a huge habit of our society to do that, to save little bits of money, to penny pinch. I mean, I'm not perfect, folks. I'm trying to find ways to deal with this shit. because we don't want every shop to be a supermarket, for crying out loud. We got to have enough room for the little doers. But how do we afford the little doers when they charge for a smaller amount, a lot more than for a supermarket like Coles, Woolies or Aldi in Australia, which is what we have. And basically that's a problem, and I just wish I didn't have to use these big supermarkets all the time. So I don't know. That's a tough question, folks. But I'm sure in the future, when capitalism has collapsed, we're going to have just the little doers left, and we're going to have to support them for sure. So we're just going to make this like so. So we're just having a bit of fun with this commonly seen, or there are some different versions of this quilt nads. Some of them show different wording and they do add a bit of variety to this, but they're much the same. They show this little angelic child, or whatever you want to call it, an angel child and all that. I don't believe in that sort of shit. This is a really silly advert. But anyway, I think we've made something quite interesting out of this commonly seen commercial. I think now we can call this quits.